The following demo will show you how the iPerspective product is useful for creating web services and for consuming them using a variety of different client packages. First off, the client application itself, iPerspective application, is a browser-based application that requires authentication. We're going to go ahead and log in, and this particular instance of iPerspective has been configured already with a number of services, and I'm going to show you how you go about adding new services. What you see here first off is a DBX module, database module, and this connects to a variety of databases: Oracle, SQL Server, basically anything with the JDBC driver could be connected to iPerspective. We also have an SAP module and other modules that allow you to connect to other data sources. I'm going to select the database module, and the layout within the application itself is always that we have sources on the left and we have targets on the right. And the sources in this case will be databases, and the targets in this case will be application servers. So if we look at our data sources, you can see I have a number of pre-configured data sources. For example, I have an application on here for schools, K through 12, or even colleges that might use something like Banner or Infinite Campus. So if I drill into a particular data source, we look at schools, we can see this is an 11G version of an Oracle database, and we're looking at a school schema in this case. And we can browse the database. We can search for specific objects by typing in a name, student, for example, and do a search, and we'll find all the tables that start with STU. Or we can look for database objects by data type. And there's full paging logic within here, so if you had an Oracle 11G database that for R12 of Oracle Apps, which has hundreds of thousands of objects, it would perform just fine. And so what you see in this case is we have a number of different tables, and we can look at any of these tables at any time and see what kind of data exists within those tables. These are class schedules. We have activities that we could take a look at, like different basketball teams. We have parents within here, we have students, and so on. We also have created a number of views, which is basically business logic on top of those tables. And so, for example, we have parent activities, and parent activities are for specific students, specific activities that they're involved in, but for specific parents. So you're seeing all the activities for a particular parent here, which we're going to limit down within our application. We have parent students. These are the students by parent, so we can drill into that information. You'll see in here in a minute. We have classes that the student is taking, down to the student level, what time of day they are, that kind of information. We have scores for the student for tests that they're taking. You'll see that again in the client application. And we have functions and procedures and packages and things along those lines, other business logic within the database that we can expose up. So these are objects within a database, and what we want to do is expose those into an application server or as open APIs, web services. Web services come in a variety of different formats, SOAP-based services, or the RESTful services. And so we have a variety of web services that we can create with iPerspective. So what you have is a server here that I've pre-configured that happens to be on this machine. It's a JBoss server in this case, running on this local machine. I could have any number of app servers, And then we have these packages down here, which are groupings of services. And you can see all these different services that I've configured within a package. In the web service world, you can think of these packages as EAR files or WAR files on an app server. And we have configuration for any of our services that we have. For example, you can see here that this is pulling from the school schema, and it's pulling a table called menu items, and these are the columns in there, and I can remove any of those columns from the web service. And then there's some configuration information. You can see this is a plain old Java object, RESTful, JSON, an entity plain object. I'll get into this in a minute, but I can configure them to be in different formats if I don't set a client. Each of these with a star have a client that we're creating that will consume the service itself. This particular one, location services, these are tables within databases, but there's no client defined that's going to consume those services, so we can configure those services to be RESTful or SOAP-based, or different SOAP formats, or JSON, or XML, or YAML formats, or we can specify the type of message format we're going to return. So we can get very specific about the web services that we're creating. To create new packages in an app server, we just simply name it, and we can put a description with it. And as I mentioned, you can create a client on top of the services. The advantage of doing that is that we pre-configure the client and we pre-configure the services to match that client's preferred consumption type. So, for example, Oracle Application Express, we can create an Oracle Application Express application that consumes the services. We create the services and the app, and when we do that, we create the type of services that Application Express likes. For example, Apex likes SOAP services that return XML, and they actually have some of the XML namespace information stripped out of them. Android prefers RESTful JSON services. Flex is an Adobe product that really likes to consume the SOAP-based services, and Google Gadgets like RESTful XML services. And so we'll create the client code, for example, an Android application that can consume the services, and you can take that code and modify it. Everything that gets created within iPerspective is template-based. So if you don't like the way our web services are written, you can go in and change the template and then resynchronize and regenerate your code. Or if you wanted to add in some logging or security or other functionality, you can do that. You can do the same thing for the clients that get generated. And so, for example, under location services, you can see we have built the services previously, and we can look at our build history of when we actually built it out and how long it took and all that good stuff. And I can click on synchronize at any time, and that rewrites the code. So if I change the template and I clicked on sync, then it's going to rewrite all of the web services. And if it's a client-based application, for example, this is a gadget that was created, a Google gadget, and when I click on sync, it's going to regenerate all the web services, and it's going to regenerate the Google Gadget client code. And so you can see we have a number of different services here. For example, under schools, we have the menus service, which returns a description, full description, and a menu. We have those parent activities that we talked about a little while ago. We have student class information. We have the students for the parent, and then we have student scores. And within iPerspective, we can generate these services and the client apps, as I mentioned. We also have an iPerspective client application that reads the metadata from the iPerspective repository using web services. And so I'm going to show you an example of that particular application. We've set this up. It is a Android application, Google Android. This is a Droid phone that you're seeing here. And we've set this up so that we can pick a number of different portals that we're going to log into, and these are different services, web services, within iPerspective. And so I can say I want to see all the services, or I can look at Enhanced Recovery, they're a company that is in the short sale business for the default mortgage world. We've got school application for K through 12, for example, to go against Infinite Campus. We have office supply information for an office products company, travel industry information, and financial services. So you'll see, typically you would only have one of these, and you would have it pre-selected, and you would just be prompting for authentication information. But it's just a Java app, and you can modify it as you wish. So I'm going to log in as Jamie Butcher here, and when I log in to the Douglas County portal in this example, I get to see, this is where I'm seeing the parents, students. So I've logged in, I've authenticated, I'm seeing only my kids here, and they're Jamie's kids in this case. And so we see Graham and Trevor are here. And if I click on Graham, I'm going to see the information for Graham show up at this point in time. So the activities that Graham has this week is that he's on the A-team basketball team, and they're playing at the Angels, which I've got an address for right here, and I can click on the address, and it pulls it up right within a map and takes me to that location, and I can then click on navigate, and I know exactly how to get to that particular address. And so the Android emulator, or the Droid emulator that you're seeing here, is actually quite a bit slower than it is on my actual phone. But you can see there it actually found the location, and I can click on that and say that I want to navigate to it, and away it'll go at that point in time, and it'll navigate from where I'm at. So you have all of the functionality that you'd have typically from your phone. If there's a phone number, when you click on the phone number, it's going to pull it up right within the phone. And this client application, we're able to create these client applications very, very quickly within this iPerspective mobile client, and pull up this information and pull it out of our underlying services. So just to go back and look at Trevor now, for example, we looked at the location of a game. I can click on the class, and I can see the grades that Trevor got over the last few weeks, and I can see how he's doing on test scores. So grades seem to be progressing down in this case. And at any point in time, we can either turn these options on or not for the person. But within here, you could allow them to add items to the dashboard or delete items from the dashboard. And the items that you would be able to add would be listed right here. And we can have children items as well that automatically get displayed, and we can pre-configure the client as much or little as we want. So we could always have it for everybody show up with their kids' names, and go from there. And another thing I want to point out here is we can have any number of menu options within here. For example, if I wanted to report that Graham was going to be absent from school today, I can click on that. I can also set it up so that I get alerts for any of the kids, so that I know if they called in sick for themselves today, pretended they're me. So when I say add to the dashboard, also you can see that how quickly I can create things within the application. For example, if I want to display the list of my kids, you can see that I can see a lot of different information for the kids, and I can see it in a number of different formats, and I can select any one of these formats, or I can say I want a custom list format, and then I can go down through and pick what I want to see where. Student's last name on the first line, second field is going to be the student ID, and so on. So I can custom develop how I want to see this information. That was for a list. I can look at the information in a table format, and when I do that, I get to see all the different columns. Then I can reorder these columns or include or exclude columns. I can add items in a map format, and if I do that, it asks me, where is this latitude and longitude going to come from? Is it going to be calculated from one address line, multiple address lines, or from a lat-long field? And again, if I say one address line, for example, then I have to choose which field contains the address for this. That might be the home address. And then what I'm going to show on the map. Maybe I want to show the student's last name, and then a description for that. And when I add that to the dashboard, it's going to show up as a map every single time I go into my dashboard. I can also add things like calendars and forms and charts, and I can set up alerts that I want. And you can see there's a number of different chart types. So this is the iPerspective mobile client that allows you to create the app, pre-configure it as you wish, so that users who are authenticated, or you can leave it so they're unauthenticated, get options within a menu, and you're creating a mobile app in a matter of minutes instead of having to develop the app. And I'm getting this data from the iPerspective web services, or right out of my real enterprise data is where I'm pulling that information from. And so another example of this would be that if I go back here and I log out, and then I log back in, and I'm going to go into the financial services demo, and I'm just going to say I'm Brad, and type in my password there. And now it's going to log in. It's going to look completely different. I've got 401k summary information here. If I say I want to add to my dashboard, that's the only thing I can add in this particular example. But just like the My Kids thing was the only thing I could add on the other one. But I could have a number of different options right here within the dashboard, and I can leave that option on for users, or I can just use the tool to set it up, and then have that set up for all the users. And you can see you can scroll across information. This is a table of information, and I can drill into any of the users and see more information for those accounts. This is for a 401k account manager who has a number of customers, and they want to check up on them and see how they're doing and see what their profitability has been, how much they've been able to raise the value of their accounts over a period of time. And when I drill into this information, now I'm going to see it in a graph format, and this graph might be a little busy, and because I have so much data, I probably would want to limit it to the top 5 or something like that. and then you can see all the different stocks that this person owns, and I can click on any one of those, and I actually go into Yahoo, and I'm going to look at the Yahoo Finance information for this particular stock, and this is looking up on a real-time basis. So you have a lot of flexibility in terms of how you create the apps. Like I said, this is an iPerspective mobile client. We also, that's not a generated client, that's a client that is able to read the iPerspective repository. You can also create clients for Flex and Google Gadgets and things along those lines, so that you can pull the information. And I have a gadget over here. Let's see if I can open that up a little bit. This is a Google Gadget. It's reading on a real-time basis from the from a web service and pulling it into a Google Gadget that's on the right-hand side of my screen. And I can open it at any point in time and see how my stocks are looking that way too. So I can deliver data to users from an enterprise in any number of via any number of methods. So hopefully that's helpful at giving you an understanding of what iPerspective does. It creates web services in a variety of formats that can be consumed by any number of clients, because web services are an open standard. We also create a number of clients to simplify that process for you, and we have the Android client app that can consume these. Thank you very much, and hope you're having a great day. Take care.